What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from SBMTG, and you know what time it is. It's Eldritch Moon spoiler season, and so we've got like a bunch more cards that came out this morning to talk about, some of which I'm pretty damned excited about. So let's go ahead and start with the one I'm most excited about. You ready? Because I'm actually very, very happy about this, and it's going to be weird. It's going to look weird, but I'm super happy. This is Kessig Prowler right here, and it'll transform into Sinuous Predator. Kessig Prowler is just a green mana for a 2/1 werewolf horror, and it has 4 generic and a green. Transform Kessig Prowler. It transforms into Sinuous Predator, which is an Eldrazi werewolf. It's a 4/4, and it can't be blocked by more than one creature. It has Reverse Menace. What have I been saying? Wolves needs a super cheap, good 1 or 2 drop creature, and they listened, I guess, or they knew that Wolves needed that, and they finally gave it to us. Yeah, this is just a 1 mana 2/1, but we really don't see a lot of good 1 mana 2 power green creatures. You know, like, this is better than Pouncing Jaguar. All day, I would say. Really, really good mid-game mana sink. Make it a 4/4. That's not bad. It's good in sealed environments. You don't usually play 1-drops in sealed. This is a great 1-drop in sealed. It's a mana sink later in the game that gets way bigger. And in constructed formats, I mean, a 1 mana 2/1, you know, that might be ho-hum in white. But in green, that's really, really important. And a stompy deck may be possible if Werewolves isn't. I mean, a lot of people are going to try Werewolves now, specifically because of this card. Not Ulrich. Not Ulrich, this card. This is the thing, in my mind, that makes Werewolves a little bit more viable. While we're talking about wolves, let's talk about a couple of other wolves that aren't quite as impressive, but still, we saw them today. This right here is Vildenpack Outcast. It's 5 mana, that's 4 and a red, for a 4/4 werewolf horror with trample. You can pay a red and have it get +1/-1 until end of turn, or you can just pay 7, that's 5 and 2 red, to transform it. It transforms into Drone Pack Kindred. I love the idea of Drone Pack. That's an Eldrazi werewolf. It's a 5/7 trample, and you can pay 1 to have it get +1/+0 until end of turn. Now this is a premium limited common. This thing is really, really good in limited, and it's a common. I'm a fan of this in sealed, especially where you're going to get to that 7 mana very, very likely. So in sealed, I like it, but aside from that, there's really not much to say about it. It's not going to see any constructed play, but hey, it's a wolf, and it might actually be a limited all-star. Here's another wolf, and this one is sort of right in the middle. You know, that last wolf was kind of meh, the first wolf was really, really exciting, and this one is intriguing. This right here is Smoldering Werewolf. It's 4 mana, that's 2 and 2 red for a 3/2 werewolf horror, and whenever it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. And you can pay 4 and 2 red, that's 6 mana, to transform it. It transforms into Erupting Dreadwolf. That's a 6/4 Eldrazi werewolf with whenever Erupting Dreadwolf attacks, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Speaking of limited all-stars, it's like Wizards want werewolves to be like the limited deck and maybe vampires to be the limited deck. I really wish they could be the constructed decks, but this is another limited all-star. It's a great uncommon in draft or sealed or whatever limited environment you're in. Really, really like this card in those formats. Don't think it has the legs for constructed, and people are saying that it might because the enter the battlefield trigger can ping tokens all day, take out Hangerback Walker tokens, plant tokens, and stuff like that. I can almost agree with that. The ETB trigger is not too bad, but 4 mana for a 3/2 is just like, it's really, really vulnerable. And even when you flip him over, he gets okay, you know, he attacks and he shocks stuff. That seems good, but I just don't know, man. I don't know that you want to pay the 6 mana to transform this guy in standard. I don't think he quite makes the cut. I think he's a really interesting guy, but end of the day, just a little too fragile for my taste. While we're on the subject of transform cards, let's do this one. This is actually not a werewolf. We've moved on from werewolves. This is a vampire right here. I think it might be kind of good right here. This is Voldaren Pariah. It's 5 mana, that's 3 and 2 black for a 3/3 vampire horror with flying. And it's got sacrifice 3 creatures, transform Voldaren Pariah. You can also madness it into play for 3 black mana. When it transforms, it becomes Abolisher of Bloodlines. That's a 6/5 Eldrazi vampire with flying, and it has, when this creature transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. Now this is also probably not quite there in standard, but it might actually be insanely good. This is one of those that I'm not quite sure about. Like, it's either fairly bad or it's fantastically amazing. Sacrificing 3 creatures sounds like a lot, but we're playing decks like Aristocrats right now that want to sacrifice creatures anyway. We don't have a whole lot of free ways of sacking creatures, especially once Nantuko Husk leaves in late September. We won't have that card anymore. Can Aristocrats still be a thing? Maybe, with this card. It costs a whole 5 mana to put out, though, and that is a lot. But you can transform it the turn it enters the battlefield. That's not bad, and they have to sack 3 guys. So it's entirely possible that you just play this for 5, sack 3 dudes, Zulaport Cutthroat triggers go off like crazy, and they have to sacrifice 3 dudes. The turn you play it, that actually sounds freaking good to me, especially in a format without Nantuko Husk in a few months here. So maybe, I don't think this goes in the traditional Vampire aggro deck, but this could go in a very specialized kind of deck that I kind of can't wait to brew up. I'm going to try this because I actually think this could be insanely powerful, but it depends on the meta. And right now the meta is full of collected company decks and tokens decks, and this is probably not very good against tokens decks. So there's that to consider too. I can't wait to try it out and see what happens, because this card is either junk or great. There's one more creature to talk about that transforms today, and I love the flavor of it. It's a really cool thing. This is Curious Homunculus right here. It's a 2 mana, that's 1 and a blue, for a 1/1 Homunculus with tap to add a colorless to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. It's also got, at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 3 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, transform Curious Homunculus. And it transforms into Voracious Reader. That is a 3/4 Eldrazi Homunculus with prowess, and this amazing line of text: instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Okay, so I actually don't know how to evaluate this at all. Like, when I first read this, I was like, okay, lame, this is dumb, stupid. But the more I think about it, it is ramp, in a way, and I know it only lets you play instants or sorceries, but certain decks that might be all that you want to play, honestly, so I don't actually think that that's too bad. It's not hard to transform this card at all, and as a matter of fact, I feel like it's fairly easy to transform this card, and it becomes basically a 2 mana 3/4, which is also awesome. So I don't feel like the card is too awful. I'm not saying it's going to show up in collected company decks or anything. I don't think it's like incredibly powerful. But when you're looking at basically a 2 mana 3/4 that's not even super hard to flip and rams you, like there's kind of a lot to like about this card. When you first look at it, you're like, nah, boo, yawn. But the more I've thought about it, man, this card is actually maybe okay. Not only that, but when it flips, it's 2 mana 3/4, I keep saying, but it also has that, make all your instants and sorceries cheaper. That is a pretty good ability. Like right now we've got Jace's Sanctum in standard, and the mono blue prison deck plays that card. Probably end up playing this guy too, and I feel like this is better than Jace's Sanctum all day long. So I think the card may have some actual playability. Here's an equipment for you. This is Graph Stapler, and this requires a translation. I really hope that it doesn't end up being stapler. Like, I really hope that they come up with a better word. But as it is now, Graph Stapler is a 1 mana artifact. It's an equipment. With equipped creature gets +3/+3. It's also got, when equipped creature attacks, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. And it's got, when Graph Stapler becomes unequipped from a creature, sacrifice it. It's got an equip cost of 2. I don't like it. So there's that. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments. But here's another artifact right here. This is Soul Separator, and it's got some people talking about stupid stuff to do. It's a 3 mana artifact with 5 tap sacrifice. Exile target creature card from your graveyard. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that card, except it's a 1/1. It's a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has flying. Then, you put a black zombie creature token onto the battlefield with power equal to that card's power and toughness equal to that creature's toughness. That is a lot of text. Basically what it's saying is that you exile a creature from your graveyard, and you get a zombie that's basically that creature's power and toughness, but no abilities. And you get a spirit that's a 1/1 flyer that has all the guy's abilities. That's basically how this works. The first thing people said was the stupid tree. People were like, well, you target your tree that's in your graveyard with this, and you get a 1/1 blue flying spirit that can tap to put the opponent at 1 life. That's the first thing that a lot of people said, and that sounds cool, but like really, really cash. Although it's on curve. You play this 3rd turn, you play or find a way to put the tree into your graveyard on the 4th turn. That's how you spend your 4th turn. And then 5th turn, you can, sacrifice this. So that's on curve at least, but that seems really casual and fun. So I'm probably going to give it a shot. But that's the main trick that I've seen with this thing today. What I like most about it is that it just allows you to get more value out of creatures that are in your graveyard. If they kill one of your guys or something, or you sacrifice one of your guys, you can always get rid of this, exile the creature, and end up with 2 creatures, one with its power toughness, and then another 1/1 flyer at the very least. Even if it's vanilla, it's a 1/1 flyer. So you get 2 creatures because one of your guys died. That actually seems good, right? But 5 mana to activate is an awful lot, right? And there's just going to have to be something super gonzo with this for it to work. And honestly, cards like this usually end up being, 25 cents rares. But we'll see. We'll see. There might be something that I've completely missed up to this point and is just game-winning immediately and automatically. So let me know how you feel and if you've got any secret tech on it down there in the comments, because I'm interested. Here's a fun Eldrazi, which you don't really hear people say every day, but actually it's like this card too. This is Elder Deep Fiend right here. It is an 8 mana, that's just 8 generic mana, Eldrazi Octopus, cool creature type right there. It's a 5/6 with Flash. That's important because it also has Emerge. It's got Emerge, 5 and 2 blue. And just as a reminder, you can sack a creature and then pay the difference between the creature's casting cost that you sacrifice and this guy's Emerge cost. Is how Emerge works. And it's also got, when you cast Elder Deep Fiend, tap up to 4 target permanents. The fact that this has Flash and Emerge is really, really good. Can lead to a lot of combat tricks and will probably end up being a limited darling, but I don't know about Constructed. People are saying Constructed because it has Flash and it can be like a huge control finisher that you play defensively, and then when you untap, you have this huge guy and their board is completely tapped out. So that seems fun and all, but I'm just not sure how well that works. I do think it's cool that any deck can play this card. That's pretty awesome. I always like that about, Eldrazi, but at the same time, I just don't think that this is the standard control finisher that some people are saying it might be. I, again, could be entirely wrong on that because Flash is good, Emerge is awesome, tapping their permanents and playing it defensively is great, it being on a huge body is great. A lot of good things about the card. Here's a couple of more cards that require translation. I'll give it to you. This right here is Ingenious Scab. It's 2 and a blue, that's 3 mana for a 2/3 zombie horror, and it's got Prowess. It's also got, just for a blue mana, Ingenious Scab gets +1/-1 until end of turn. Well, just decent limited piece, maybe. I think that you probably play this guy. He's like a 20th card in a limited deck. He could actually be a better card than that, and I'm just going crazy. I'm not a huge fan of these like +1/-1 abilities that you see a lot on good limited cards. I'm just not really the biggest fan of that. Although sometimes, you can pump it up to trade with a guy, or you can pump it up to deal a lot of damage. This, not necessarily. Although you get one Prowess trigger, you start pumping it, and things could happen. But obviously, only strictly meant for limited play. Speaking of OP in limited environments, at least somewhat, this guy right here also requires a translation. He is Haunted Dead. That's 3 and a black for a 2/2 zombie with, when Haunted Dead enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying into play. It's also got 1 and a black, discard 2 cards, return Haunted Dead from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Well, this sort of reminds me of Stitchwing Scab from Shadows over Innistrad, but I actually think it's a little bit better, dare I say. I do like the enter the battlefield trigger a lot. I love that you get that spirit and that it's fairly abusable. They can kill the guy, it's cool, you'll get it back and another spirit along with it. So, in limited it's a great, madness outlet. That's something to consider too. So there's things I like about the card. I don't think it'll see standard play, pretty much obviously. Although again, this card does have some value to it. I like the enter the battlefield trigger, all that's good. But I just think it's, again, strictly limited playable. But this card looks pretty good in limited. I'm going to end on a couple of 4-mana gold cards here, and I've seen a lot of people be very excited about both of these cards today, especially this first card I'm going to show you. Although, for my tastes, I'm more excited about the second card. I'm going to go ahead and show you these right here. We've heard their names a bunch. Finally get to see them in card form. This is Gisa, or Gisa, it's probably Gisa, and Geralf. This is 4 mana, that's 2, a black, and a blue mana for a 4/4 legendary human wizard with, when Gisa and Geralf enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. And during each of your turns, you may cast a zombie creature card from your graveyard. Well, Commander players, do you like this card? That's all I want to know. I'm not sure if people are super excited about this for Commander. I have heard suspiciously little talk of this in Commander, and I think this could be a really cool, Commander or EDH card. I really do. As far as standard play goes, though, I really don't think this is the piece that Zombies needs at all. It's really easy to kill. For 4 mana, I want something with 5 toughness, like a lot. But I'm about to preview the next creature I'm about to preview. I'm going to gush about, and it's a 4 mana 4/4 too. So maybe I'm just not looking at it again through the right lens here. But I really feel like this card could do way more. I don't think it's the piece Zombies wants. Zombies needs a piece that is immediately, obviously good. And I don't know that this is the thing. All right, last card of the day right here, and it's one that I actually kind of like a lot. So let's take a look at Bloodhall Priest. It's another 4 mana 4/4. That's 2, a black and a red for a 4/4 vampire cleric with whenever Bloodhall Priest enters the battlefield or attacks, if you have no cards in hand, Bloodhall Priest deals 2 damage to target creature or player. You can also Madness her in for 1, a black and a red. Now this, I kind of like. I'll say the same thing that I said about Gisa and Geralf. I'm not sure this is the card that the vampire deck really needs in order to become, tier 1, tier 2, or anything like that. Right now it's like tier 5 by Ziggy. I'm just not really sure this is what it needs, but I do like this card, actually. I think it could work as a 4-drop. I think it could work as a 3-drop, too. Obviously, play this on the 3rd turn, that's pretty good. But following up at Olivia seems like it'd be a good shot, The worst thing about Olivia is that she runs you out of resources very, very quickly. And with a card like this, that's exactly what you want. It's basically got a Hellbent ability. I like that it's got an enter the battlefield trigger sometimes. It's got an attacks trigger, which is actually really, really relevant. That means late in the game, after you run yourself out of cards, you have a little bit of reach. You have something that can deal damage directly to the face without actually having to get a creature through for combat damage. I really like that about this card, and I do think that it's fairly removable. All of those things apply to, but I do think that it definitely has some promise. It's got some potential, and I'm going to try it out. I don't think this is the vampire piece that makes that deck credible, but same time, I do think there's a lot of good things about it, and within the framework of that deck. I really like, again, the idea of following up an Olivia with this on the next turn, either by madnessing it in with Olivia herself, or just playing it for the 4 mana. Because within a couple of turns, especially with Olivia out, you will be out of cards in your hand, and this card gets way, way better. So I actually don't think the card's bad. I do not think the card's bad, just whether or not it's good enough, we'll have to wait and see. That's all the spoilers for today, but you know how spoiler season works. I'm sure there'll be more spoilers tomorrow. So stick with us, keep refreshing the channel, and we'll eventually have more spoilers up. That's how that works. And, like the content if you like the content, sub if you want more of it, and all the YouTube stuff. I've already told you to leave me 100 different comments on these cards. I really want to know how you feel about some of these that I'm obviously not really sure about. I'm trying to evaluate them as best I can, but some of these are either dud or all-star, and it's hard to tell until you see sort of more pieces in the set, or maybe there's some sort of crazy, stupid wombo combo out there that just nobody sees yet. So let me know if you have any ideas for those crazy combos with these cards, and I'll be reading them. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, my wizards.